It's almost been a year since I should have done this, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Oh boy. So Beyond Linux from Scratch covers a lot of stuff that you would want, like text editors, file system management, shells, general libraries, servers, Xorg, display managers, a bunch of stuff like that, desktop environments, the whole nine. But there are some things missing from Beyond Linux from Scratch that would overburden the book. And a lot of users depend on a lot of software that isn't exactly found in this book. Gaming Linux from Scratch at some point took in some of this material, like CD, which is needed for Hyperland, XEB Yellow Errors, which is also needed for Hyperland, and some other miscellaneous stuff. However, I decided that users are gonna want stuff like app image support, Flatpak support, so I decided to put it in its own little GitHub repository known as Linux from Scratch Quality of Life. This eventually turned into Supplemental Linux from Scratch, which definitely has a lot more than what it once did. Originally, Linux from Scratch Quality of Life started as a bunch of markdown files. This was heavily inconvenient, and we eventually decided to go on a similar base as what Beyond Linux from Scratch and Gaming Linux from Scratch uses. So what does this book exactly include? Well, it also includes a bunch of general libraries and utilities, much like Beyond Linux from Scratch. You'll probably want stuff like UT-hash. Of course, you're going to want CD for Wayland compositors like Hyperland and Wayfire, and other WL roots based compositors. And you're probably going to want some more portals to connect with your window manager or desktop environment. You also probably want some fetch programs, which is provided in this book, like NeoFetch and FastFetch. You're also probably going to want HTOP and BTOP as well. Going further beyond this, you also have CUDA support. You also have an older version of OpenJDK, which is necessary for older versions of Minecraft, which is also provided in this book via a Minecraft launcher, Prism Launcher. You also have terminal emulators, launchers. You have Mesa Demos, which is not provided in Beyond Linux from Scratch, but is externally linked to. You also finally have OBS Studio, something that I use a lot, and probably a different bunch of other users who maybe also be using Linux from Scratch. And you'll have FCITX, so finally you'll have IME support in Linux from Scratch. Also, SDL3, and then some window managers and desktop environments like Hyperland, CDE, i3, and Wayfire. You also got some computer emulators right here, some video game emulators for the Nintendo DS, the GameCube, the Nintendo 64, and others. And you also have Fuse 2, which is necessary for app image support, and then Flatpak, which is, well, Flatpak. You need them for Flatpaks. And it works pretty darn well. And if you're a user or you use or work with System 5 operating systems, well, you have some tools for compatibility on a Linux from Scratch machine. Now let's get into a little bit of internals, let's say. OpenGL support. libgl VND is the only supported OpenGL vendor due to a bunch of issues, as discussed in important information right here regarding OpenGL. Basically, the main gist is certain packages explicitly require libgl VND due to certain situations, and that causes an incompatibility with Beyond Linux from Scratch. Gaming Linux from Scratch has tried to solve this issue by providing libgl VND and preferring it over Mesa's OpenGL, but this is still bound to cause confusion. So if you're trying to get into this book, realize that Mesa's OpenGL is not supported in Supplemental Linux from scratch, but it doesn't mean that most applications won't work. In fact, most of them do. It's just a few outliers like Hyperland and OBS are tied to libglvnd intrinsically. There's one that I'm not sure about, which is Flatpak, and the reason for that is Flatpak doesn't link to OpenGL or doesn't hard require like a specific OpenGL vendor, but the thing is certain apps link to different SDKs, and most of the SDKs contains libglvnd, and if you try and run a libglvnd linked application on a Mesa OpenGL system, even if the library is in place, it will probably fail to create an OpenGL context or instance, which causes issues. For all those reasons, only libglvnd is unfortunately supported in this book. This book has almost been in development for a year, and again, I didn't announce it right now because I just didn't get to it, but I've been working pretty hard on this book along with a few others, namely Silly Seal or Vlad, Douglas Reno from the Beyond Linux from Scratch project, myself, Toxic, and a couple others like Linux Pilled Axolotl. But yeah, that's Supplemental Linux from Scratch. You can give it a try at glfs-book.github.io/slfs/index.html. You can also go to the GitHub site, github.com/glfs-book/slfs, and go to releases and render your own copy or download a copy yourself. But yeah, that's Supplemental from Scratch, previously known as Linux from Scratch Quality of Life. Hope you have some fun, and hopefully it provides you of all your needs. Thank you for your time.